signature style there. At that time, 20s, there were not a lot of like signature styles of architecture though. So instead, they pulled from a lot of external influences for the buildings, a lot of European influences. So a lot of them have kind of a European look and influence, making Chicago kind of like a Paris on the prairie for a while. My favorite one of that batch is over on the right. You can see it kind of lit up tonight, like that really weird, like purpley dome over there. I love that building. It's called the Intercontinental Blimp Docking Station. Yeah, in the 20s they were like, blimps are gonna be the future. And then Hindenburg blew up. And they were like, oh, blimps are not gonna be the future. Still there. Kind of harkening back to that once heyday of blimp travel. Imagine, right? Chicago, city of blimps. Wow. Keep pulling ahead though. We got a building also on the right side here with this white terracotta tile exterior and that clock tower on it. That building is called the Wrigley Building. The Wrigley Building. Yes, that is the same Wrigley from Wrigley Chewing Gum and Wrigley Field where the Cubs play. The first tower was built in 1921 and the second tower added in 1924, again about 100 years old. And this style of architecture is known as Spanish Revival style architecture. In fact, the Wrigley Building is modeled after a cathedral in Seville, Spain, is modeled after an existing building. Now, my favorite thing about it, I think, is the clock tower on it. I don't really wear a watch on the boats. Actually, I usually read that to tell the time. And because of that, I have relearned to read analog clocks. Yeah, so I'm gonna read it right now. I'll prove it. It's 9:30. Thank you, everybody. I read a clock.
Oh, de verdad dice eso, trunco.
It's gorgeous. I really love the building. So happy to have it in Chicago. So one of a kind. Still one of the prettiest in the city for sure. Alright, we're now going to the second bridge, the third bridge, the DuSable Bridge, the name right there, As we come under this bridge, we're going to see the second tallest building in Chicago. A tall, cascading glass tower is going to rise above us here in just one moment. This building is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. It was completed in 2009. Now, this is a really important style of architecture. This style is known as contextualist architecture. It's in the name, right? Context contextualism. Contextualist style buildings use the context of what's around them to inform the design. So look at the building. See those 3 tiers on it, those 2 patio setbacks? Those were all designed to be in line with buildings around it. The lowest tier lines up with the Wrigley Building. The second tier lines up with the rocket-shaped building across the way. And the third tier at the top lines up a building we cannot see quite, but a black box one that peeks in the corner in a moment called a plaza. Contextualist building, context the surroundings. Now, the reason we talk about this building is because of the building's architect. It was built by a man named Adrian Smith. We often call him the world's... We don't call him that, that was a horn. We call him the world's tallest architect, as he designed this building and also the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the current tallest building in the world. For scale, the Burj Khalifa is 2 times the size of that tower. It's incredibly, incredibly tall. But you know what? Tom Cruise still climbed the whole thing. What can't he do? This one here, that's Amy Plaza, the black box building right there. It used to be called the IBM building. It was the last one from architect Mies van der. I'll talk about him later. The last building from Ludwig Mies van der was that one. Alright, keep going up, keep going ahead on the right. We're gonna see next up some really uniquely shaped and looking buildings. I'm gonna ask you, look at the right, okay? Just kind of like corn cob shapes. Have you ever seen anything like that before?
No, nunca.
These buildings are known collectively as Marina City. Now, why are they called a city and not just a building? Well, they were built in the 1960s, built by an architect named Bertrand Goldberg. And Goldberg wasn't just an architect, he was also a social scientist. And what he was trying to do with Marina City was put everything you could ever need to live inside one complex. Okay, so what's in Marina City? What do you need to live? Well, inside those towers, you would find your very unique pie-shaped your valet parked car
Sí, yo la andaba
above
buscando hace rato,
restaurants,
Daisy.
above
Y luego no se me
stores, above
olvidaba
a
y
bowling alley,
cómo
an
se
ice skating
llamaba.
rink,
Y
a
yo,
music
así
venue,
como le dicen
and of course,
Daisy, la
most
negrita,
importantly,
así le
it
ponía
would
y
be
no me
above
salía.
parking for your yacht. I don't know about you guys, but one thing I have to live is yacht parking. I have a lot of yachts I need to park. I'd be asking, okay, has anyone ever driven off the side of Marina City's open air balconies right there? Yes, they have driven the side, but only in the movies. In the 1978 movie The Hunter, starring Steve McQueen, a car was driven off the side and did land into the river. But don't worry, it's just movies. Won't happen today. We're safe today for buildings. I mean, for cars. Woo! Fun horn noises. Gonna hear that a lot. It's to wake you up. Just kidding. It's because a lot of boats out here. It's not traffic tonight. It's a really nice evening tonight. Everybody's out. All these pleasure crafts.
De los shorts,
boat over
los
there.
shorts, sí.
A lot of industrial boats too. They're hanging out here on the Riverwalk as well. Lots of people are hanging out, enjoying all the evening. Right? What a fun night out here. But you don't want to be in any of the other boats. You want to be learning about architecture. Speaking of learning about architecture, let's talk about this building.
Apenas caben.
On the left side over here, this kind of stone base and the glass exterior. The
Oh,
building
los
is called
en vivos,
77
sí.
West Wacker. It is not
Ya con el
architecturalist, it is
tiempo se
actually
les hace.
neoclassical style architecture. Because look at it. It looks kind
Cuando
of
los
like an
hechos en el día.
elongated kind of Roman temple a little bit. Neoclassical is that idea of combining new and old. The new is the glass, the old is the kind of Roman temple and look to it, right?
Sí, en
A glass
Chicago
Roman
es
temple. It's a great building, so lovely, built in the 90s.
Hola,
Love that
Esme.
one. Okay, seats are clearing a little bit here. Keep
in
moving
Chicago,
ahead. Take a look at
amiga.
the right side next at the very first brick building of the tour. This building here is built in 1914. It's called the Reed Murdoch. It is one of the only brick ones we see on the tour. There's always like a name for this style of architecture, as a matter of fact. This style could be one or two. It could be prairie style or could be the first Chicago school. Because again, architecture is not exact, right? Styles are not exact. They're subjective, they change over time through the ages and the years. This one has no exact name or style for it. I think we could call it the beautiful style, because it's beautiful.
Ya habían comprado.
To love,
La
that was a
niña
very old
compró los
building.
boletos y nos
Alright,
dejó
so
el
pulling
otro
ahead.
donde íbamos
Now,
a ir.
you see we're going under a lot of these
dejó
bridges, right? A
porque
lot
mucha-
of these bridges. So we fit under them super
Está el
easily.
tráfico muy feo.
But not every boat can fit under
Y
the
nos dieron
bridges.
para que nos
So
viéramos en
what do
el-
you do to keep under the bridges? Well, at those times, the bridges move.
Es que ya que
They
nos
all
quedamos,
have the
dije,
ability
vamos a
to
conocer
split
ahí.
down the middle and raise and lower their arms
que nos
up and
quedamos
down in the
porque-
air as need be. Now, it's pretty rare to see them raised. It is, people walk across them, cars go over them, even trains go over them. They're hard to raise. You see them raised is a really treat for Chicago. If you don't, it's pretty normal. But again, they all have that
Cuando fui a
ability. They
Miami,
all can
no
move
fui a
as
nada
need
de
be.
esto. Me daba miedo. Me daba miedo y nada, mire, va bien al pasito uno.
All right, coming under this lowered bridge, we're gonna look next on the right side. Give a look at the focus here on the right. This is a giant behemoth of a building here. This building is called Merchandise Mart. It was built in 1930. When it was built that year, it was the largest building by area in the world. It is done in Art Deco style
Y mi
architecture.
cámara
It's
se
the
ve muy
first
fea.
American national movement in
Valentino
architecture.
Puñola,
So what do we see in Art Deco
Valentino.
buildings? We see
Estoy
windows
esperando
that
si
create
duran un
vertical
poquito más
racing
para
stripes to
ponerles
draw your eye to the top of the
moderador a los
building.
que
We see
llegan.
exteriors made of limestone.
Pero
See
porque
that
a veces
all
se los
Art
pongo y
Deco
se van y
buildings.
ya.
Okay, this sounds all We'll see a lot more
Hola,
later. I think the
Valentino,
rule of
gracias
thumb
por
in front of
venir.
the building, if it could have been in Metropolis or the Great Gatsby, it's probably Art Deco. Like that one, the amazing Merchandise Mart. We'll see it again later, don't worry. We're gonna keep pulling ahead now though. We're gonna pull farther into the river, into an area that we
Qué
call
bonito, nada más que mi
Wolf
teléfono se ve bien
Point.
feo.
Now Wolf Point is often
Más la
known
luz.
as the trophy case of Chicago.
Vámonos a dar una vuelta.
Right? All these pretty buildings
Sí,
here
¿verdad?
in Wolf Point.
Pues,
Now this area is where the three branches of
¿Cuándo
the
va a ir,
river meet.
Daisita?
The main branch is behind us. The
Yo
north
voy a
is
ir
to the
en
right,
agosto a
the south
México,
is to the
si
left.
Dios.
We're going to go to all three
Pero en
branches
México
here.
no voy a ningún lado, hay muchas cosas
Now
bonitas,
here on the
pero
right
yo
is
no
one of the
salgo.
newest buildings in Chicago. This building here was completed in January of 2023. It's about a year and a half old. It's
Ahí en Miami bien bonito todo.
Anybody know what Salesforce is? Anybody know what Salesforce is? We're like in an office setting, I assume. Yeah, I
Yo
work
creo
on
va a
a
ir al
boat.
mismo
I don't
tiempo
know
que
what
yo en
Salesforce does.
agosto, ¿verdad?
But I know that's definitely a gift in my life. I have learned that. But there it is, the brand new Salesforce Tower. Brand new building. Now we're coming here, actually not going to the North Branch, so we're going to the South Branch. And we got these two buildings ahead of us here. This one here on the right looks like a giant hot pocket a little bit, called the Hot Pocket Building. This one on the left looks kind of like a tuning fork, called the Tuning Fork Building. Now, it's important to know, when you build on the river in Chicago, there's an ordinance you must abide by. Every building built on the river must be set 30 feet back from the
viven
water
en
that
Miami,
kind
no,
of public space
nunca
for
van,
buildings.
ahí hay muchas cosas bonitas.
Also in these two buildings,
Donde yo
there
vivo
are
no hay nada.
train tracks
Ahí
underneath them. Amtrak and Metro train lines run underneath these two buildings, right? These little like fans here, circle fans are here, those are trains under the buildings. So, they could not build foundations underground.
Lo bueno que nos devolvieron los boletos porque ya nos había dejado en el que íbamos a ir en un grande, pero nos dejó.
So clearly in that tuning fork-shaped building. Now, the real name of it is 150 North Riverside, and the concrete base there is only 39 feet across. It's incredibly, incredibly small. Now, we don't think about it all the time, but buildings actually do sway in the wind. Wind is more powerful than buildings. So, if the base is so small, and the top is so tall, and it's swaying in the wind, physics tells us the building should be falling over. But it's not. It's totally fine. How is it not falling over? The answer is really good engineering. There's an engineering principle they use in this building called inertial slosh dampers. What a crazy term. What does it even mean? What it means basically is the top floor of this building is 150,000 gallons of water. And as the wind is pushing the building in one direction, the water in those gallons sloshes the other way. So the wind goes this way, the water sloshes that way. The wind goes this way, the water sloshes that way. And the effect that it has is stabilizing this building, keeping it upright, keeping it from falling and crushing an unsuspecting tour group. Sorry guys, today we are safe from falling buildings. You have my word on that one. Thank an engineer.
Los grabados casi no dan
it's pretty though.
Vista, sí,
also the base of it there, it's called Small Cheval there on the base of it. That is like hands down the best burger in Chicago. It's just so good.
¿Qué le iba a decir?
Oh, Small Cheval.
Oh, digo que no fue planeado.
Alright, we're in the South Branch now. Enter the South Branch of the river. And we're gonna see on the left side the glass building. So kind of steel pylons there, having that 30-foot back roll to abide by it. This one here on the left was built in 2017. It is the Bank of America building. Hey, if you were a Bank of America patron, you probably helped pay for this building. Great job, guys. Clap for yourself for that one. Great job. Okay, now this is, of course, contextualist style architecture, as the exterior windows here are super reflective, kind of like a giant mirror on the side of the building. It's hard to see at night, it is, but during the day it's really lovely, like a giant kind of mirrored effect here on the exterior of the building. But it's not right now, it's all dark. Gonna keep pulling ahead though. Gonna look at the right for a spell. On the right, I'm going to point out 5 buildings to you all. In the next 5 buildings, you can literally trace the way that architecture has changed and evolved in Chicago in the last several decades. We begin here on the right with 2 North Riverside Plaza, another example of Art Deco architecture, right? Windows, limestone, classic Art Deco. Let's get into it. This style, all over Chicago, all over the Midwest, all over the US even, but actually it's a really short-lived movement in architecture. The style started in the late 1920s. Right, think about history. The 1930s brought the Great Depression. The 1940s brought World War II. So we get this style, and then for the next 2 decades, we are too broke and too busy to care about architecture. Actually, post-Art Deco, there are almost no new office buildings built in the US for 30 years. This is nothing until the 60s. So then, the 60s roll around, we want to have some fun, we want to shake things up. So what do? We build little black boxes. Wow.
Y también mi
This one here is
teléfono no
called
quiere
Gateway 1.
grabar así
That one is called
volteado,
Gateway 2. They
atravesado.
are
Me cae
examples
muy
of
mal mi
black box
teléfono.
modernism, also called Miesian architecture, or just modernism in general. They come from, again, Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, my favorite architect, and the father of the modernist movement.
Fierro,
If I look at these, but you're thinking, okay, those are kind of boring. I've seen a lot of them before, which is true. But think about it this way. If you had seen no new styles of architecture in 30 years, and the only thing you knew before this was the over-the-top ornateness of the Art Deco and Victorian movement, these black boxes would have been the coolest things in the world. They're so sleek, they're so simple. You would not be surprised to learn that Mies van der Rohe coined the phrase, less is more, right? Less is more in practice. Now, in the 1970s, we leave behind the little black boxes for white boxes. Ah, that's so crazy. That there is called Gateway 3. Actually, it's called the International Style of Architecture. It's called that because you can go almost anywhere in the world and see buildings just like that one. Like, picture the moment. Picture the skyline of your home. Right? You probably have one of those buildings. I grew up in Indiana. I think it's like the only building in Indiana. If I look at make one critique of the style, hear me out. The 1970s gave us disco. The 1970s gave us ABBA. It gave us Elton John. And then it gave us this. Do better, 70s. Let's go to the 80s next. Things get a little crazier in the 80s. You guys remember the 80s, right?
El que nos tocaba era un alto, iban dos pisos, pero
I wasn't alive in the 80s. I've only seen
venimos tarde y los Uber tuvimos que ir a buscar nosotros a la mera calle, nunca llegó hasta donde
so in the 80s we get this building here with a curve in it. That is contextualist style architecture, as the curve in the building mimics the curve we see in the river, and the windows even have a wavy glass effect meant to mimic the waves we see in the water itself. Now, with that style, we are caught up as the most current style still used in Chicago. It has been 40 years of contextualist architecture. It's a long time. But now we're going to look on the left, because if you're feeling a little bit lost or confused with where you are in Chicago, look no further than here. Here's a map of the river on the side of this building. And that red dot that's lit up is us. It's a "You Are Here" map, like at a mall. Look at that's us. Where's the Spencer's Gifts? I want to freak out my mom. I do love that red dot. I really do.
Primas de
Gotta keep moving along though. We're gonna move from maps to movies. If you recognize the stone building there on the right side, maybe you're a fan of Batman. That is Gotham City Bank from the opening scene of The Dark Knight. Yeah, they're like the building in that scene of that movie. Guys, Heath Ledger was inside that building. Heath Ledger. Now, in the film, the building was a bank. It's not a bank in real life. In real life, it was the old main post office. It used to be this huge post office for the whole Chicagoland area. But now it's not even that anymore. Now it's actually just an office building. It's been a lot of different things. It's kind of this thing that we do with buildings in Chicago, where buildings are pretty new. We don't just get rid of them. We reuse them. So it could start off as a post office, became a regular office. It could start off as a bank, became an apartment complex. They could have been an office, became an apartment complex. At a certain point, every building in Chicago will become an apartment complex.
Aquí yo no, yo nunca había visto así. Bueno, en Miami
Keep
cuando
pulling
fuimos a la
ahead, though.
playa,
We're
sí,
South
mucha gente
Branch.
caminando también.
Again, this branch, we went all the way down it. We would get into the Gulf of
mucha gente
Mexico.
camina
That's pretty far.
y no cobran. Hay unas partes que cobran la entrada, ¿verdad? Y aquí no entra usted. Si usted quiere entrar a esto, sí, pues lo paga, pero
I started the tour
no
off
cobran.
how Chicago was a very new, very modern city. And there are reasons why we are this way.
Hecho que nos
And one
subiéramos,
big
pero
reason
como
dates
nos
back to the year
fuimos, se querían ir las niñas.
1871, the year of
Pero
the
sí
Great
estuvo bien porque ya nos
Chicago
dormimos un
Fire.
ratillo.
Now, maybe you know that story.
La
If
rueda
you
ahorita
don't.
se ve bien
If
bonita
not,
de
it goes a little something
colores,
like
pero
this.
ahorita andamos
On a
lejos de
late
ella, ¿no?
October
Porque
evening
pues
in
no se ve nada de eso.
1871, a fire
Está
broke
muy
out
bonito
at
todo
Irish-American
allá
immigrant
para
Catherine
adentro allá.
O'Leary's barn and caused
Hay muchas
devastation
cosas.
in Chicago. Now, at that time, the city was mostly made of wood. Okay, the buildings were made of wood. Even the sign box were made of wood. So as the fire spread, almost everything burned down. The fire burned for 3 days. At the end of those 3 days, 18,000 buildings were destroyed. Over 300 people were killed, and 1/3 of the population of the city was rendered homeless. Okay, it's a horrible, horrible tragedy. But here's the thing. If you've ever been told the story of the Chicago fire before, maybe you've heard all of that. And maybe you've also heard the fiction. It's a very popular rumor that it was Mrs. O'Leary's cow that kicked over a lantern and started the whole thing off. Now listen, if there's one thing I'm on this microphone to do today, it is to make sure that each and every one of you know that that cow was framed. Come on, dude. My parents are cattle farmers. I know a lot of cows, and these cows don't like this story. I was home last weekend. I was talking to my cows. I was like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" They were at the pasture. They were like eating curds away and smoking cigarettes. And they were like, "You're still from this tribe?" And I was like, "Yeah, whatever."
Laura,
and
todas las primas de
Jerusalem. You know that generational trauma is real, and we have those scars on us to this day from the fire. So I'm here in the cows' path, as the cows cannot be themselves, letting you know they did not do it. So go forth in the world and clear their good names for the cows, guys.
Leida, puedes ir con Jerusalén a ver si tiene canal.
For the cows. Think about that. It's a little story about the cows, but the reality of the Chicago fire was, the reality of the fire was, is through tragedy came opportunity. Post the fire, they had this chance to start over and rebuild, and they do not waste this chance. They rebuild a new city on top of the old, a city that would not burn down again, a city made of steel and stone and glass. And it is in that time that right here in Chicago, the very first skyscrapers in the world were built in this city.
Pues voy a, si,
Pues
si mientras esté bien ahí que se quede con la llave, pero...
No, in the year 1893, it was the Chicago World's Fair, World's Columbian Exhibition. It was a really big deal, the World's Fair. Put the city back on the map. It was 22 years after the fire, so we have to rebuild what we're made of, our art and culture and life. So they hired this architect named Daniel Burnham to come to Chicago, and he designed what was called the White City. A series of glittering palaces full of art, culture, innovation. It was a huge success. 27 million people from around the world came to see it. That's a lot of people. At the time, there was like no airplanes, right? It was all like boats or trains, horse and buggy, walking. Oh, when you get yours that way, right? Amazing coming at that time. Now we get a lot of things we have now for the World's Fair. Like we get the world's first Ferris wheel. The zipper comes from there. The brownie comes from there. The dishwasher comes from there. Oh, a company called Pabst brings a beer to the World's Fair, and everybody's like, oh, "This beer is so good, we're gonna give it a blue ribbon." And they have been milking that for years. We know PBR. It's like a fine beer, but it's not like a Miller High Life, because that's the champagne.
Sí, ya volteé, ya lo
Speaking
saludé.
of beer, hey, the bar is still open. Won't be open forever. Many beers on draft back there, all better than PBR, and none better than a High Life. I will die on hill. There's no beer found out of Miller High Life. I made the joke one time. Somebody went, "You gotta travel more."
Mire, ellos iban más alto allá.
I do. I'm fine. Those are my stories, though. And do you also kind of illustrate this idea, this point about Chicago? Chicago as the intentional city. It, since then, has built intentionally. Listen, see this here on the left side here? This literal dirt patch here. Even that was actually intentionally. They cleared all this land recently, and they broke out because they're making for new buildings going up in that area very soon. So even that is supposed to be here. It's all intentional. All right, guys, you're in for a bit of a treat tonight. We're doing a different route than normal. We are going down a little bit farther than normal, which works out really well for you. It's going to be a really great view coming up pretty soon. So just wait a second here. We're going to get coming up. This is kind of like special. Like, we don't do this a lot. A little like different kind of view of Chicago.
Gracias.
We're going down south, heading a little farther south than normal. Going down almost facing to Chinatown. Amazing Chinese to Chinatown. Chinatown's so amazing with Chinese food and culture down there. We're heading back down basically that way. But I want to talk about the area we're going to be in, okay? Did you guys know that there are 77 different and distinct neighborhoods in Chicago? 77. We're currently in the South Loop neighborhood. But we're coming up here on this next little kind of empty patch of land right here. This area has nothing on it. But they're currently redeveloping this area right here. They're going to build a 78th neighborhood right here in this spot, going to be called the 78. And there'll be a new neighborhood in Chicago, new skyscrapers, new apartments, new parks, new buildings. All of that more will be here in this area in the next 5 years. So for now, it's all industry over here, it's all barren, but it will soon look very, very different. So we're in West Chicago. Chicago now is so grown up and so big and so changed. But it used to be most of this. Historically, in the 1970s, it was only industrial and a couple other apartment buildings and stuff. But now we're finally getting rid of the industry, we're making it more livable, more walkable, more doable for everybody. So this area will soon be the 78th neighborhood. Actually, I'm a die-hard Chicago White Sox fan. They are the worst ranked team in the MLB. The White Sox, but they're discussing moving the White Sox stadium from their current home down at Sox Park up here into this area, which is a very, very complicated issue. It's very complicated. But I think a proposed draft of the new stadium, and they did propose putting a TV screen on the side of it so boats on the river could watch White Sox games, which would be really fun. Can I just be right now? Right there. Like, live the best of your life. It just would be. See what happens if they move it. We don't know yet what's going to happen, but it could be moved. See what's on there, 78chicago.com. Little sign there. New neighbor coming very soon. Woo, woo, woo. Alright, heading down south a little farther. Look at that bridge right there. Again, that's a moving bridge as well. It's a little bit different. It's a little more used. It's got those two arms there. That one's usually up because they actually use that one a lot more. But it does raise and lower all the bridges too. Chinatown though is very interesting. I love Chinatown. It's a really cool place to go. Amazing food down there, amazing culture. So we're gonna go that way, go see it a little bit. We're gonna go to a park called Ping Tom Memorial Park. Now there are over 600 parks in Chicago. There are. Pingtown was very special. There's a lot more parks in Chinatown, and they built an overpass like through the neighborhood and like killed all the parks. And that's horrible. Like, you need parks in the neighborhood, right? That's builds a community, and like builds a lot of life having parks there. So because of that, an activist named Ping Tom, he was an amazing activist, he devoted his life to getting a park for Chinatown. He said, we must have a park in this neighborhood, we must have one. He put his life to it. There's a park there now, owed to him, called Ping Tom Memorial Park, named for him because of his work and legacy. It's one of the finest in the city. It's an amazing park, Ping Tom. It's so highly recommended. I mean, it's great parks. There's like Grant Park is amazing, Ping Tom is amazing, Humboldt Park's phenomenal. We have so many amazing parks. We really do. Lincoln Park, the park in the neighborhood of Lincoln Park, is actually bigger than Central Park. So many parks. Alright, those are pulled farther along here. We're almost at Ping Tom's, this little red railing right there. Ping Tom at the beginning, but this is Chinatown right here. The cat's going to a U-turn here as we head back. A couple things happened in the U-turn. I'm taking a break from the mic. I'm gonna walk around and answer some questions you guys have so far. A second thing is the view behind us is so one of a kind, so unique, so stunning. We never, this is a very rare view to get. It really is. We do not get it a lot. So I'm taking a break from the mic right here. We're gonna look at the view. I'm gonna answer some questions you guys would have so far. It's gonna have to go to the bar or bathroom, and then wait to this moment. But for now, really, really enjoy the amazing views ahead of us.
Por favor, ok, bye. Bye, Jerusalén. Sí, ya voy a cortar ahorita. Voy a cortar, amigo. ¿Qué es? ¿Sabritas? Ah, pues sí tengo hambre, pero no sé. Es como que quiero tacos. ¿Dónde venderán tacos? A ver si hallamos allá. ¿Dónde compró Lili ya no estará? ¿Qué están mirando? ¿Qué? Hoy por ahí se oye un baile. ¿Cuándo iba a estar un buen baile ahí con muchos grupos? Por culpa de mi teléfono no se ve clarito. Ahí se ve más clarito porque la cámara de enfrente no está quebrada. Nos van a traer aquí pura vuelta nomás, ¿o qué? Es que este barquillo nos trae por otro lado. Allá donde estábamos en la mañana estaba bien bonito. Oye, por allá hay música. Me comí las papas de tu papá. Unas de hace dos. Aquí está para que vengan con el novio, ¿verdad? Atravesado para que te quepa. Gracias, amiguitas, las que andan aquí por su dedito. Ya se va a Jerusalén. Ya bueno, entonces le voy a quitar el calzón a ver si no. Quitar moderadores tan. A ver si no viene y ya se lo quite al pobre. Ay, cochino telefonito. Y todos se desbarataron. El otro ya no les cargó. No, es que cuando anda uno fuera de la casa, ay, es muy feo andar fuera de su casa. Uno no haya. Igual cuando voy a México, bueno, ya tengo mi casa, pero todo me hace falta. Sí, me traje los cables pero sin cabeza del cargador. Como nos viene que por un rato y último ya yo dije vamos a quedarnos un día del año, no me hace daño. Pero quisiera ir así para. Pero si este teléfono cuando está oscuro, él solo prende el flash y ahora no quieren, no lo prende. Él solo lo prende cuando salgo así en lo oscuro, solo prende. Y a mí como que hasta la cabeza me ha dolido. Gracias, costeñita. Voy a traer así. ¿Eh? Tú me las dejaste encargadas y me las comí. Me compré a ti unas sabritas de allá. Aunque ya nos van a regresar. Ay, no. Qué paseo. Tanto que cobran. The white stadium? Right here? Oh, wow. That'd be awesome. Huh? That's fun. I'm sure it's going to get developed. Pues no dijiste que era 1 hora más y ahorita no va ni media hora. No, eso no. Pues fíjate, falta. Yo quería que me llevaran allá donde andaban los temprano. Hacia allá. Yo creo que este no está listo para meterse a más agua más pesada.
Alright, get your last pictures and I'm gonna come back on the mic. Got some more buildings to talk about. Did you guys forget about buildings? I didn't. Love the buildings. That was a fun view, right? That's really one of a kind. I think I'm gonna see this is my season, my second season, the first.
Pero esa es like la razón de este tour. Ya sé, también pensé.
No había
Alright, let's talk about some more buildings. We got a building here on the left side we'll always ask about. It looks kind of spooky. Got those 2 smokestacks on it. The building is the old Union Power Station, opened in the 1920s. It closed in 2011, so it's now kind of boarded up and abandoned, and they just don't know what to do with it, right? Because they don't know how to access it. It's got trade house all around it. They don't know what to do with it. So what do they decide to do with it? Well, I take suggestions for it. I think you could turn it into an apartment complex. You could turn it into a brewery, a distillery. It could be a nightclub even. Cool nightclub. But again, it's closed now. It's shuttered. You guys could buy it if you want to. I think it's $1. That could be yours. Now, there's this idea that I wanted to illustrate about Chicago. Chicago, again, as the intentional city. But also this thing about Chicago is that Chicago was designed intentionally to be beautiful. To be so beautiful externally, it would create an almost internal beauty, right? Still that view down there. That was beautiful. Didn't you feel good looking at it? External beauty creating an internal beauty. That's Chicago. Now look at this building here, though, on the right side. I call it the concrete honeycomb. Those circular windows right there. It's kind of what it looks like, a concrete honeycomb. The real name of the building, though, is River City. It was built in the 1980s. It is built by, remember, Bertrand Goldberg, who did Marina City, also gave us River City. So same idea, same principle. Everything you need to live inside one building, circular apartments, car parking, boat parking, stores, restaurants, all that and more in the building. The difference with this one was, there were 3 planned towers, only this one was built. It was built in the 80s and built here in the South Branch. Now this area, again, is only now being redeveloped, right? So that time was kind of industrial over here, and I wanted to live in my own industry. Also at that time in the 80s, this kind of idea of a city and a building got totally out of fashion. So built at a bad time, built in a bad area. Which is a shame, right? Look at that building. It's so unique. So should we adored and lived in more? I think so for sure. Honestly, you guys live there? Who live there? I live there. I live there. Honestly, pretty affordable to live in that building. I Zilled it one time. A studio in there is like $1,800. Not terrible. Could do better, but you also could do a lot worse. Not terrible. For contrast, this black one right here in front of us called the Reed. That one's like $2,200. $2,200. That's a lot more money. That one's brand new though. It's about 1.5 years old. The Reed. Alright, keep pulling up next. Gonna refocus back into buildings here. Got 3 buildings to point out next. I'll call the next 3 my stars of Chicago. Like if this is the TV show The Bear, they will be my Richie, my Sydney, my Carmia buildings. Any Bear fans? Anybody? I love The Bear. Yeah, I love The Bear. It's a great show. It feels so Chicago. Like you have to watch it. Like you literally have to watch it. Okay, it's an ad for The Bear. Anyways, keep moving forward. Got the 3 buildings, the stars of Chicago. My first one, my Richie of buildings, if you will. We're gonna see it towards the right side. So that kind of statue is sticking up over there on the right side. That's the building. The building is called the Chicago Board of Trade building. It was built in 1930. It is an Art Deco style building. The statue on the top is the Roman goddess Ceres, the goddess of agriculture. Why is there an agriculture, a trade building? Well, we're in the Midwest, we're in Cowtown, we're in prairie country. Agriculture was and is a big part of our industry. If you recognize the building, it was Wayne Enterprises and Batman Begins, some more Batman. It also was featured on The Bear. On The Bear, they mentioned the lobby bar of the building, which is called Ceres Cafe. I have had it confirmed from multiple different sources that Ceres Cafe has a very heavy pour. After one of my tours, who were with me, and they were like, I used to work in the building, so I go to Ceres Cafe all the time, and they told me that the Bloody Marys in there are pink. That's how strong they are. You like order Jack and Coke, it's like a thing of like Jack Daniels on the glass and then Coke on the side. Yeah, they're very strong. And you know what? Open till like 1 a.m. Keep that in mind. Ceres Cafe. All right, my second star is Chicago, my Sydney, my Iowa debris of buildings in the city. We can see right ahead of us, past the bridge, with the circular barrels lit up on top of it. The building is called 311 South Wacker, and every single night, like it lit up tonight, those barrels light up like a torch or a beacon to see Chicago for miles. The story goes, when the building was first completed, those barrels were so bright that migrating birds thought the building was the moon. It's not good. I always imagine it was like a Hitchcockian type occurrence, like swarms of black birds were flying full speed into the windows, and they're running around, they're like in the birds. What actually happened was they dimmed the lights in the barrel to a much more reasonable level. They still light up at night, but now birds are not dying en masse where you work. Just definitely a net positive. All right, the final star of Chicago of buildings, the Jeremy Allen White of buildings in this city. We'll see it here on the right, just past the bridge. The beautiful, the magnificent, the wonderful, the Sears/Willis Tower. That is the tallest building in Chicago, and for 24 years, it was the tallest building in the entire world. So how tall is it? 1,451 feet tall, or 442 meters tall. That's pretty tall, pretty tall. But there's one real weird caveat in that number. See the antenna on top of the building all lit up